My name is Alex Schichman. I'm a rheumatologist, so I'm dealing with arthritis and autoimmune diseases. I'm from San Diego. For approximately 10 years, I've been dealing with diet and supplements in my practice because early in my life I realized that, these are the things which can make a major impact on the healing and treatment protocols. And several years ago, we started a line of products for our patients initially, which we call gluten-free remedies, and now the products are available online. And we'll talk about some of the things which kind of generic, and if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer on those questions. First of all, we need to realize that gluten intolerance and celiac disease part of autoimmune diseases, and actually it's the most prevalent autoimmune disease in the world. So 10 to 35% of general population dealing with gluten intolerance in different forms. And the percentage is so high because it's a genetic disease, so the genes which are responsible for the development of the disease and the prevalence of the genes runs between 10 to 35% depending on ethnicity. So what also is known that obviously mortality rate in people with gluten intolerance approximately 1.9 up to 3.8 times above the general population. And also it's kind of sad, but it's a known fact that patients who have gluten intolerance and celiac disease are much more prone to various malignancies, specifically lymphomas and colon cancer, as well as pancreatic cancer. And actually, the rate of malignancies in patients with gluten intolerance and celiac disease approximately 2 or 3 times higher than general population. And what's been shown that if you go on gluten-free diet and you stay strictly on the diet for somewhere between 1 up to 5 years, the risk of malignancies goes down to the general population. All right. So this is the question which I commonly get from my patients. So why gluten? Why not other foods? Well, first of all, gluten is a protein which human body cannot digest. So we don't have any enzymes to completely digest gluten. We can digest it and form small fragments, but again, we cannot break it down to amino acids compared to like meat proteins. So because of that, after consumption of gluten, we form large fragments. And these fragments can stimulate various inflammatory and abnormal immune responses in patients who are genetically predisposed to gluten intolerance. So what's been shown that gluten peptides also can penetrate through the intestinal lining into your bloodstream, and you can find them in distant organs. It's been shown that you can find gluten peptides in the brain, you can find in salivary glands, in thyroid glands, and actually you can find it in the breast milk. So that's why those people who are genetically predisposed and those people who consume gluten, they may end up with diseases outside of the gut. So this is one of my favorite slides. It's a pyramid which shows you different probabilities. So basically the whole pyramid reflects people who are either HLA-DQ2 or HLA-DQ8 positive. And so again, these are people who are genetically predisposed to gluten intolerance and celiac disease. So if you look at the top of this pyramid, only 3 or 5% of people will develop celiac disease. And when we're talking about celiac disease, we're talking about biopsy-proven illness. If you don't have a positive biopsy, you cannot call it celiac disease, so it needs to be biopsy-proven, right? The rest ends up in a group of gluten intolerance. So approximately a third of people with HLA-DQ2 or HLA-DQ8 will end up with a full-blown gluten intolerance without celiac disease. And there's such a thing as a latent disease, so you do have the genes, but you don't have any obvious manifestations. And approximately 2/3 of people with positive genetics don't have any obvious symptoms. And during their lifetime, there is approximately 35 or 40% chance that they will develop something. At the same time, if you look at the whole structure, so 60 or 70% of people who do have HLA-DQ2 or DQ8 will develop various autoimmune and rheumatic diseases, and most of these people don't have any clue that this is a gluten-driven process. or processes.